Welcome to my channel. You're watching KNV Monsters. In today's video, we're going to be going over my perspective on a tournament that I recently took part in. It's going to be a best of 3 tournament for each round, and you're allowed to bring 4 Digimon that you can select from. For the 4 Digimon that I decided to bring to this tournament, first is going to be Alphamon Oryukin mode with the UR ability, Miracle, which buffs its AP by 30% if I get an excellent on the attack minigame. The second Digimon I decided to bring along for support is going to be Examon with the UR Friend ability, which is going to buff both monsters' HP by 20%. Another Digimon I decided to bring along was going to be Fenrir Lugumon with the SSR Burst ability, which is going to buff both Digimon by 20% AP. And the last Digimon I decided to bring was going to be Shakamon with the UR Wonder ability, which gives it a 30% BP boost if I get an excellent on the defense minigame. My idea with this team here to participate in this tournament was to use Alphamon as a pivot and basically use Examon and Fenrir Lugumon as support monsters. And I decided to bring Shakamon along as well in case I needed some kind of a tank, because Shakamon is acting as a tank with the plus 30% BP. Most of the time I think, and it depends on the situation, but for this tournament here, I believe I was planning to use Alphamon Oryukin mode as the pivot monster and just throw in a second Digimon to support whenever it came down to choosing the monsters for the battles. For the bracket in this tournament, it is completely random. For the first round here, I'm going to be going up against Edward GC. So let's go ahead and get right into the first match. For the first match here, I decided to bring Examon and Alphamon. My opponent decided to bring the Mirage Burst and Tyrant Kabuterimon. I kind of wanted to use Alphamon with increased HP just to give it survivability. And so my opponent decides to lead with the Mirage Burst, and I was able to go first in this turn. Pretty good bubbles starting off on the very first attack. So I decided to block with Examon in the back here because the Mirage Burst is at a type advantage against my vaccine monster. So what I was basically thinking in my mind is I'm going to soak up damage in the back, and eventually my opponent's going to want to use the W attack. And whenever that happens, hopefully if I time it right, I would block that with the Alphamon Oryukin mode, which wouldn't kill it because obviously it's going to be at full HP. Okay, so that's the third block with the Examon here. If my opponent decides to W attack on the next turn and I block in the back with Examon, it's pretty much dead, and then I don't have access to my W attack. So I believe my opponent blocked with Tyrant Kabuterimon here because they thought that I was going to W attack now for some reason, even though I have full health. But I believe they decided to W attack on this next turn, which they did, and I blocked with Alpha Oryukin in the front, which gets me down to about a little more than half HP. So now I'm in a really good position. I've still got my W. My opponent doesn't have a W. They also have chip damage on the back of the Tyrant off of the block on the previous turn. And so now all that's left to do is burn down my opponent with the Alpha Oryukin mode and use the W attack, hopefully on the Tyrant Kabuterimon. So when I decided to W attack, my opponent did block with the Tyrant Kabuterimon in the back. I think that what they're trying to do is save the Mirage Burst to burn down my Alphamon, because obviously it is a threat. But I've got 2 more blocks in the back with the Examon, obviously the one you just saw now, and then I've got 1 more after that. And so I decided to let Examon go here just to give my Alphamon Oryukin mode kind of more time to work with. If my opponent keeps blocking in the back with Kabuterimon, I have the type advantage and will get rid of it very quickly, as you saw. And now all that's left to do is to take down the Mirage Burst. Even though I am at a type advantage, the way that I played out the first 8 turns of this match, I was able to save my Alphamon a lot of HP, and so now I can burn it down. Even with the type disadvantage, I'm able to get ahead of my opponent. And I believe I just need one more attack here. And there you go. I was able to take the first match of this round 1 best of 3. And so going into the second match here with Edward GC, I decided to bring Alphamon Oryukin with the Fender Lugomon to give it added AP boost. And my opponent decided to bring the Mirage Burst mode back with an Alphamon Oryukin mode. And so right off the bat, my opponent's going to be going first here. I decided to block in the back with the Fender Lugomon because of the type advantage, so I'd be taking less damage with the blocks in the back. Again, just to preserve my Alpha Oryukin mode, as it is going to be my main damage dealer since it's getting the most AP boost of this team here. The really cool thing about having the Alphamon with the plus 30% AP and the Shakamon with the plus 30% BP is that I can pivot off of both monsters with the Examon or the Fenrir Lugomon, depending on what type of a situation I'm in. And so if I felt like really threatened in a sense by an opponent who, for instance, might have brought along a really heavy hitter data type, I could have interchanged the Alphamon with the Shakamon just for the added defense as well to maintain survivability. I thought my opponent was going to W attack here, so I decided to block in the front with the Alphamon, but they decided to go with a normal attack. And so now I'm kind of confused as to when they're going to be using their W attack. My opponent blocks in the back with the Alphamon, and because it doesn't have any type of defense bonus, it basically just takes a neutral hit from a vaccine. I blocked in the front again with the Alphamon. Again, I am anticipating this W attack to come soon. So if I block in the back with the Fenrir Lugomon, it's most likely going to die to a W. I think the Alphamon can survive one more hit. My opponent does the same, but they are burning down their Alphamon. Also, I missed a good block here, so my opponent was able to get a W attack on an 18% BP boost. And luckily my Alphamon does survive the W attack. And I decided to save it, went with a normal attack on this turn here. My opponent blocks the Alphamon in the back, and so now I don't have to worry too much with the Fenrir Lugomon in the back, because the Alphamon has one hit on it, and so if it ever came down to it, I'd be able to take it down with the Fenrir Lugomon. And all that's left to do for me here is to burn down the Mirage Burst mode. I just continued to block in the back with the Fenrir Lugomon to preserve the Alphamon. I W'd at a very random turn just to see what would happen. I was hoping it was going to hit the Mirage Burst, but my opponent decided to block in the back there, and so I kind of wasted a W attack on that turn there. I should have W'd on the last turn, so now I'm left with this Fenrir Lugomon, basically like 1 HP to fend off against the Mirage Burst. So this seems like the last turn here, but my opponent does get a 36% on the attack, and so my Fenrir Lugomon was able to survive that last attack. Literally a sliver of health. I don't know if you could see it on the video here, but I was able to survive and get one more attack on the Mirage Burst, which is going to end the game. Also, my opponent missed the defense there, but it doesn't really matter. It was going to lose its health anyways. So I was able to take the first round here with 2 wins in a row. So I move on to the quarterfinal, and I don't have the graphic here, but Soul made it past the first round too, and so that's going to be my next opponent here. On the first round here, I decided to bring the Shakamon along with the Examon here, just to give the Shakamon some added HP on top of the defense that it's already getting. My opponent brings along Shakamon with Fenrir Lugomon. Obviously going to get the 30% BP boost on the Shaka, and then the added 20% AP on the Shaka as well. I was able to go first, which puts me at advantage, and my opponent decided to lead with the Fenrir Lugomon. So I definitely made the right call in choosing Shakamon first. And my opponent decides to switch out here to the Shakamon, which is a good call because I don't think the Fenrir Lugomon can really stand up against the Shaka, especially with the added BP. It's going to do hardly any damage. So they made the right decision there to switch over the Shaka. And so I started blocking in the back with the Examon. Obviously with the plus 20% HP, it is going to be a good block in the back. Also with the type advantage, it's not going to be losing as much health as another type. And so I continue to block in the back. This whole tournament here, I was kind of thinking the same thing, which was kind of to throw off my opponent by blocking in the back first couple turns up to the 3rd, 4th turn. Whenever they're ready to use their W, I would block in the front with the active monster to kind of just save face. Also, it gives me some time to work up my W as well, because if I block the W in the front and let's say get down to half HP or anything like that, I've got a level 3 W, but because they've wasted their W as well, it puts me at an advantage because I can save that W that I have, grow the level, and then use it at a time where they probably don't expect it. So I blocked in the front there thinking that the W attack was coming, but it didn't. And I think I'm going to keep blocking in the front because my monster in the back is a little weak now, so a W attack might kill it. So I'm just going to keep blocking in the front with the Shakamon. My opponent decides to W attack on this next turn here, and I block it with the Shaka in the front. And so now I'm at a really good advantage here because I'm at half HP, my opponent doesn't have a W attack, and now all I have to do is burn down the opponent and then use the W attack on a really odd turn, hopefully on the Shakamon. So I decided to W attack, and my opponent blocks with the Fenrir Lugomon in the back, which is totally fine because my Examon is pretty much almost dead now, and so the Fenrir Lugomon being low HP as well kind of puts us both at an even level. So now technically the match is Shakamon versus Shakamon. My opponent blocks one more time in the back with the Fenrir Lugomon, which takes it down. And I'm assuming my opponent is just trying to save the Shaka to finish off everything. If I play my cards right though, the last attack that I can get on my opponent will be with the Examon, which is also a type advantage attack. So hopefully if everything goes well, I can take this match. So I've used my Shakamon to burn down my opponent's Shakamon as much as possible, which is now going to allow me to bring in Examon to finish out the game. So I was able to take match 1 in this best of 3 round. And on the second match here, I decided to bring my Alphamon along with the Fenrir Lugamon to give it that added AP bonus. And my opponent's going to bring Shaka back into the game with the Examon, which is going to be a little bit interesting. Even with the AP bonus on the Alpha or Yurkin mode, Alphamon is still acting as a tank. Typically anywhere from 800 to 900 whenever it's a neutral attack damage is done to Shakamon, but with the AP boost I'm only getting about 1100 hit points on him. Okay, that was a 1266, which is pretty good. Also, too, Shakamon has the added 20% HP, so it is my opponent's rocking a high defense team, basically. I think my opponent was expecting a W there. I think my opponent is trying to avoid having the W attack damage on the Shakamon, which is a good idea, because Shaka is their win condition here. Since I have the Fenrir Lugamon in the back, obviously. If they're able to take out my Alphamon or Yurkin mode, then it's game over. Opponent expected another W attack there, blocked in the back. Totally fine. I blocked with Fenrir Lugamon in the back here to avoid losing any more HP with the Alpha Yurkin mode, and then I decided to W attack right after, hoping that my opponent would block with the Shakamon, but unfortunately they block in the back with the Exa, and then they W attack right after, which is soaked up by the Fenrir Lugamon. And so now I'm at a disadvantage because I wasn't able to hit the opponent's Shakamon with the W attack. And from here on out, it's going to be virtually impossible to take it down. With such a high defense, it really is hard to get rid of. So yeah, there's no way I can keep up with the Alpha or Yurkin mode. The Shakamon's just burning me down, basically. I missed the defense here, but it doesn't really matter. I think I was going to lose the game anyway. So I lose the second match here, which puts us at a third game. Before we decided on our monsters, I looked at my opponent's team, saw what they already picked. One of the rules was you couldn't pick the same team twice, so I knew my opponent was going to bring the Magnakidmon, and then most likely the Shakamon. So I decided to go with a double vaccine team here. just to make sure that I had an advantage over at least one of my opponent's Digimon, which I believe ended up paying off. My opponent expected a W attack there, block with the Magna Kid in the back, which is totally fine with me because I'm at a type advantage. I'm going to be doing a lot of damage to it anyways, so that's totally fine. I decided to W attack on this turn, hoping that my opponent would block in the front, which they did, and I was able to get 39 damage on the Shakamon, which is definitely really good for me. They decided to W attack after. I didn't want any damage on my Shakamon in the back, so I decided to let the Alphamon or Ryukin mode go. And so now all I have to do is finish out the game with the Shakamon here with full HP and added bonus of 30% BP if I get an excellent on a defense game. My opponent's going to block in the back with the Magna Kidmon for the remainder of its turns, just to save face for the Shaka in the front. And hopefully at this rate here, I will be able to keep up with it. Even though I did start with the full HP Shakamon, my opponent is still getting chip damage in, which is not going to work well for me. So the Magna Kidmon goes away finally. And now all that's left to do is to burn down the Shakamon. One thing that's going to be difficult here is that Shaka does have an added 20% bonus HP, and so the amount of damage that I'm going to be doing to their Shaka is going to be substantially less than what they're doing to me. So because of that HP boost, I'm still at a disadvantage here, even though I'm ahead on HP, or so it seems. They're able to keep up with me because they're burning down my HP quicker than I can burn down theirs. I tried to cut out as much as possible on this Shaka versus Shaka match here, because whenever these two go up against each other, it is such a long match. Because of the BP increase, it just takes forever. So hopefully this goes by quickly for anyone who's watching. At this point, it's basically an endurance race. My opponent and I both have to keep getting excellent blocks, and we have to keep doing really well on bubbles in order to get the best advantage over one another. And so it looks like I have one more hit to do on the Shakamon. If I get anything over, I want to say maybe 26 bubbles, I'll be able to take it on this last turn here. But I will let you see how many bubbles I hit. 13 bubbles plus 36% AP, and I am not able to kill the Shakamon. It's got a sliver of health left, which gives it one more attack on my Shaka. And my Shakamon goes down. So I lost this best of 3 round against Soul. That was a very intense match. Super fun to play. GG's to my opponents Edward, GC, and Soul. I really enjoyed the matches that we had together. But Soul moves on to the next round, and I basically lost the tournament, so there's nothing more I can do. This was a best of 3 tournament that was hosted in the Vital Bracelet Arena Fight Club, which was super fun. I had a lot of fun doing the matches, and just the hype that was building up towards it as well. Selecting my team was a lot of the fun as well. Bringing in 4 monsters to choose from. You know, obviously with the rules, you couldn't select the same team twice, and so that really did put some kind of variable over how you were going to choose your monsters for every match. But yeah, that was my perspective on the best of 3 VB Fight Club Season 1 tournament, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Comment down below if there was anything I could have done differently in any of my matches, or if you play the Vital Bracelet Arena app as well. Let me know how you're liking the game. Or simply if you just like raising Digimon on the Vital Bracelet. Doesn't really matter. Just let me know what you think, and I really appreciate all the comments, the likes. I appreciate the subscribes. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.